welcome back to my channel. So just to remind you, this channel is about faith and journey with God, not only for me, but I want to know your journey, and I want to encourage you to live your actions in faith, right? By faith. So it's not always easy, especially like when we want things to go a certain way, or like we don't want to listen to the Lord. And it all first actually starts with when we give our hearts to the Lord and give the control to God. So yesterday was my birthday, so I'm just by the water, like at the cottage. And so I just wanted to share with you something super cool that happened. And so every time I go like either camping or like anywhere to in the nature, I'm always like, okay, Lord, like I want to see, because I know like he has control over every single thing. He created us, he created every animal, like he created everything. So for me, I'm always like, oh, like I want to see something like crazy, right? And one time I remember I was like in New Brunswick, and I was like, I want to see a moose, okay? So I just like look around or whatever, and like they're really hard to find. Like I guess like it's not normal, right? But literally within the next like 5 minutes, I see like this giant moose just like standing on the side of where all the trees are. And I was like, no way. Okay, so yesterday was my birthday, and I was like, I want to see something really cool, you know? Like I'm not asking for like signs or something, but it's like I just know how amazing and powerful he is. And he can make anything happen in a blink of an eye if you just like ask him and trust, okay? So I was like, I want to either see like a moose again here, or I want to see a bear. Like I've never seen a bear before, right? And so I was talking to my sister about it, and I was like, yeah, like I want to see a bear or whatever. And then legit right across our path, like we were in a car, thank God, but right across our path, like from where we're staying, it was literally like 100 meters away or something like that. And he's not tiny obviously, but he was a baby bear, and he was like definitely over like I don't know how many 100 pounds or whatever, and he's just like running like like you know, he's like running like this or whatever, and all you can see is like his little bum, like you know, like. So I named him Teddy, and his middle name is Yogi, so it's Teddy Yogi Bear. So then, anyways, I was talking with my sister, and she's like freaking out because it's like so close to us. And then but for me, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so cute, right? And she's like, you know what? When you see a baby bear, you know what that means? And I'm like, what? She's like, there's a mommy bear, you know, like there's a mom bear close by. And then my brother-in-law, we told him, and then he was like, you know what happens to baby bears? And we're like, what? Like we didn't know, right? He's like, they don't stay a baby forever, you know. They grow like 3 times the size, like much older, more stronger. Like, anyways, the point is, it was so fun. It was literally like the best thing that ever happened. Like I'll never forget yesterday, like you know, my birthday. And so my first time seeing a bear, cute little baby, but don't be afraid, okay? So what my thing today I'm going to tell you about is, we're always talking about our faith journey. We're talking about trusting in the Lord and like giving him our heart, so that he can take control, right? It's not about our control, because even during this pandemic, like did you think like ever in life like the entire world would stop? No, like no one ever planned for that, you know. But everyone in their head was like, okay, I plan to go to this next trip, or I want to go on this next island, or I want to buy this next thing. Like before the pandemic happened, you know, that's how our lives were. We're constantly just like planning and planning and planning, but not everything just goes according to plan. So during this time, I want us to come out stronger, and knowing that like it's not about our plans for our life, but it's about trusting God with his plan for our life and whatever he says to us, right? And we must listen and obey. So basically, another cool thing that happened yesterday was I met a friend at my school. I go to Jesus school. I just met her randomly in the hallway, and she told me her testimony, and she was a Muslim, and she became a Christian just like a year and a half ago or whatever, or 2 years ago. And somehow God called her to our school. And so she's just truly living by faith because she doesn't really know like the fullness of, I guess, like all of his word. She's still learning, right? But she's learning to just listen to his voice, like in her heart and in her mind, but she doesn't know what it's going to lead to, right? But she's just like living by faith. Like, okay, she hears it and she's like, I'm going to do it, whatever, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. So I found that like just so amazing, because there's people who are Christians for 50 years or whatever, and like even though they may be able to hear him, they don't really live it by faith, right? Like they don't, like, if God is like, okay, like sell everything that you have and go help the poor or something, like most of us are like, no, I'd rather not, like I'd rather just like do my way or whatever, right? But for her, it was like really cool to see her live by that faith. And that's my encouragement to every Christian on this planet, is like to truly live by faith and to hear his word and to live it out, because he has the best plan for any one of us, you know? So we might not see it, but we must believe that he knows. And like when we listen, we just know that he has the best plan. Okay. So anyways, we're not like I don't tell her like my personal life. Like, you know, we do Bible studies and stuff together, but I never told her like when my birthday was, because I just met her like a few months ago, right? And so my birthday was yesterday, and she randomly sent me a voice message. It was like 7 or 8 minutes long, and it was at like 20 a.m. So she, in the voice message, it was like, oh, sorry, like I know you're probably sleeping, it's really late, but I just feel like the Lord wants me to like tell you this now. She's like, I had this written down in my journal on Monday. So today, like that day was Saturday, and she's like, on Monday, but I just didn't tell you. I don't know why, but I just feel like I need to tell you now. So the message was basically 8 minutes long, and then she sent it at like 12:20. So she must have recorded it at like just after midnight, right? Not knowing it was my birthday, like right then. And so literally the message from her was exactly what I needed to hear. And she didn't know that. She didn't know it was my birthday. She didn't know what I'm thinking. She didn't know what I was asking God. Like, so basically it was like for me, it's like I always want a clear voice from God, where it's like, cut this, okay? Like, stop talking to this person, or like, stop living this way of life, or like, stop doing this, or do this, or go here. And like all my life, that's been my relationship with God, is like, okay, I hear him, and then like I will do it. I'll cut it, I'll leave, I will do this for him, right? But this one thing, like I can't hear so clearly from him, right? And so basically, the whole gist of what she was saying was like, God put something in our heart, and we don't always need to just like hear him say, go to this specific place or whatever, right? For me, it's like going to a specific place. And so she's saying, wherever you go, God is always with you. So no matter where, she doesn't know where I want to go or anything like that, right? And she was saying like, wherever you go, like God is always with you. So no matter, even if it's like the Middle East or anywhere, like in the world, or if it's down the street, she was just saying this, like God is always with you, and he will always pull through, right? And so for me, I was just like, there was so much more to it, but I was just like crazy shocked, because it's the exact prayer that I was like asking God. And so for me, it's like, I usually can hear him for myself, but no, he actually used someone who's trying to fully live by faith, and she's listening to the Lord, right? And it was exactly what I needed to hear. So not only for me, but for her and for you, right? He can tell you something and you're not sure, right? Like, what does this even mean? Like, why do I even have to talk to them? Or why do I have to call them or message them? Like, I don't even know them or something like that, right? But you just never know what that person is asking God, or like what they're seeking or searching, right? And He could use you to be that person for them, to let them know that, like, okay, God is there, God is with them, God is with them, with them, with them, like He just speaks because He's one spirit, right? And He wants us to work and walk in unity. So it's like, sometimes you might not know, and it might not always be right, okay? I'm not saying like it's always right, because it could just be like you, right? But you just never know for that person. So what God is saying is like, we are to live by faith. We don't see it and we don't understand it, but He wants us to trust Him, right? And so even with like the bear or the moose or whatever, right? Like, you just ask, because He can just make it happen in a blink of an eye. Like, it's crazy. He knew exactly what we would be doing at this very moment from before we were born. Like, can you imagine that? Like, that freaks me out every single time. It just like blows my mind. Is like, He knows everything. He can tell a bear to cross your path. Like, bears are really hard to find. Like, I'm in the woods a lot, like far in nature or whatever. I've been camping a lot. I've never seen a bear, and I always want to. Like, they're really hard to like catch, because they're hidden and stuff. So besides the point, my message to you today is, so Matthew, Mark, and Luke have like the same kind of messages, but I'm reading from Luke. Luke 9:48, Jesus says, "Whoever welcomes this little child in my name welcomes me, and whoever welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me. For he who is the least among you, he is the greatest." So for us, we must have a heart like a child, as in like faith like a child. That's the kind of faith that Jesus wants us to see. And so in Luke 18:17, He says, "I tell you the truth, anyone who will not receive the kingdom of God like a little child will never enter it." I like circled it. I don't know if you can see that. Like, never. It doesn't mean, okay, yeah, like you don't have a faith like a child, so, but maybe I'll let you in, right? Jesus is saying, if you do not have this, if you don't receive the kingdom of God and live by faith, like a child. So when you think of like a child, what do you think of? They have so many questions, right? Like, okay, like they want to absorb all the information because they're learning, right? And like, if you think of a child and a parent, right? When a parent says, don't do this or don't do that, they listen, right? Because they're like, okay, they're probably right. They're an elder. Like, they're my mom, they're my dad. Like, I'm going to listen, So this is the kind of thing that God is saying. This is Jesus talking, right? Is like, we must receive the kingdom of God like a child, have faith like a child. And so until we die, right? So like for me, it's like, okay, like the older and older I get, the more and more faith of a child like I want, right? Like, you usually, like when you get older, it's like, okay, I know more, I know everything, like I don't want to learn anymore, I don't want to listen to anyone because I'm old enough or whatever, right? But it's like, no, the older and older we get, the closer and closer we get to God. So like, if you're like 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, right? Like, you're that much closer to seeing God. That's just reality, right? Like, it's just reality. So basically, we must live every single day, actually, like it's close to our last, because we just never know what's going to happen tomorrow, right? Like the pandemic, or like the riots, or like a volcano or a fire or whatever it may be. It's just like, we just never know. So we must always live our lives living by faith like a child. We might not know, but He can use someone. We can ask him, and we shall receive. Like seeing Teddy Yogi Bear, like, or that girl, my friend, she's my friend, but like, I didn't tell her anything, like, we just are getting to know each other. And she's just living like faith like a child, you know? So basically, believe, give him a chance, ask him, you will receive. Jesus loves you.